Okay, before I talk about Impact, I want to talk about Raw for a minute. Now, ordinarily, my mindset in regards to the WWE is if you give Vince McMahon a chance to stoop to the lowest common denominator, he will take it and he will run with it. But for these 3 days of WWE programming, the Hall of Fame, WrestleMania, and Raw, he decided not to. The last 15 minutes of Raw this past Monday had to have been one of the classiest things WWE has ever done, and I really mean that. To see Ric Flair come out to the ring one last time and say goodbye to everybody, for him to get all that love, all that appreciation from the fans, the wrestlers, the company, everyone was just wonderful. I can't think of a better way to say goodbye to one of the biggest legends ever in wrestling. And you know, in the past, I was really critical of the build-up of this retirement angle. I thought the way that Stone Cold pitched it originally would have been so much better, and I still do, because that way Flair would have been able to go out on his terms and not anybody else's. But this last week has made up for it big time. I didn't know what they were going to do with Flair's goodbye, and I did get a little nervous when Triple H came out. But when they brought out the Four Horsemen and Ricky Steamboat and Dean Malenko and Harley Race and Greg Valentine and all those guys, man, I got choked up. I did, because it's Ric Flair. You know, there's never going to be anyone else like Ric Flair in the business, and damn it, I'm going to miss that guy. I mean, I said I didn't think WrestleMania was worth the huge price tag, but seeing Ric Flair get inducted into the Hall of Fame, seeing him wrestle his last match, seeing him get such an awesome farewell on Raw was such an amazing thing to witness, and you can't put a price tag on that. So, thank you WWE for giving Ric Flair a proper goodbye. Thank you Vince McMahon for taking the high road for once. Ric Flair, thank you for all the memories, all the great matches, all the crazy promos, everything. Thank you, Ric Flair. I love you. I'll miss you. And yeah, that's it. Okay, I don't really have a whole lot to say about Impact this week. Long story short, I thought it was a pretty good show, minus a couple complaints. The build-up for Lockdown continues to be very strong. First of all, I'm really happy to hear the ticket sales for the show are going so well. Looks like they might just have their biggest crowd yet at Lockdown, and that's awesome. It just goes to show that TNA can actually sell lots of tickets for their pay-per-views if they actually put the time and effort into hyping them. I wish they'd known that a few months ago, but, well, whatever. Speaking of which, pay-per-views, they went and announced the main event for Sacrifice, which is with Scott Steiner cashing in the Feast or Fire title shot. And it's great that they announced that so early. It gives them some extra time to promote it. You know, some good forward thinking from the writers right there. Always a good thing. Also, another thing about this show that must be mentioned. Rhino goring Rudy Charles, striking a blow for fans everywhere who are sick to death of the TNA referee incompetence. Absolutely awesome. Best thing about the show by a mile. I pop huge for that. Fucking awesome. Of course, the big story of the night was Matt Morgan allowing James Storm to join Team Tomko, and then the swerve of Morgan being the final member of Team Cage to even the teams out to close the show. That was a very good swerve, I thought. It gives you one more reason to order Lockdown, Matt Morgan's in-ring debut. And I haven't seen the guy wrestle since he was in WWE, so it'll be interesting to see what he's got. And what I really liked about this angle was that it fixed the main problem that I was having with Lethal Lockdown, because my gripe with it up until now was that there weren't enough homegrown TNA stars in the match. It was basically just AJ Styles and Tomko, who I count as a TNA homegrown star since he was nothing up in New York, and a bunch of former WCW, ECW, WWE guys. But you throw James Storm and Matt Morgan into the mix, and problem solved. Now it's a good mix. Of course, we had Sting versus James Storm as the main event of the show. I liked this match a lot, even though it really could have used some more time. Sting went over, but the match was competitive enough, and Sting needed the assist from Morgan to win the match, so the loss didn't really hurt Storm at all. And it was really nice to see James Storm in the main event for a change. I hope we get to see more of that in the future. As for the rest of the show, all the matches were, decent to good. I mean, the 8-man tag was a pretty good opener, I thought. They did us the courtesy of keeping the Jobber Monsters' involvement to a bare minimum, and going to a commercial break when they went on the offense. When they came back, they let the Rock and Rave Infection carry most of the action for the heel team. So nothing really out of the ordinary here, but the work was solid enough. As for the Tracy Brooks Peyton Banks match, this was nothing really. I mean, just a setup for the post-match brawl. And this was the one part of the show that I really didn't like. First, they had Angelina and Velvet come out to attack Tracy Brooks, and that was fine since they set that up before the show, but before the match. So then I'm waiting for Roxy Laveau to come out to make the save, but instead, Salinas and Jackie Moore came out for no reason at all. And then Roxy came out, and then Christy Hemme came out, and then Charmel, of all people, came out. And the whole thing just became a big mess because it was just a really cheap way to hotshot this Queen of the Cage match for Lockdown. And that match does sound interesting, but apparently it's going to start with another reverse battle royal, and you guys know that I'm not a fan of those at all. I mean, if they have to climb the cage to get into the ring rather than going in through the door, it might make that stipulation a little more plausible. So I don't know how this match is going to work exactly. My main gripe was just the ill-thought-out way it was set up, because it wasn't organic to the storytelling. Salinas, Jackie Moore, Christy Hemme, Charmel, they had no storyline reason to be out there at all. It was just a really lazy way to set up this match when they could have easily laid a little more groundwork to build up the heat between the knockouts and set this thing up weeks ago. As it was, it just didn't make sense. Did not work for me at all. So that was the bad part about the show. Aside from that, I thought it was a pretty solid Impact overall. There was some good storyline advancement, and they're keeping the focus exactly where it should be, which is a big improvement over recent months. So there's only one show left before Lockdown now. It's the go-home show next week. I don't know what they're going to pull out of that. I don't know what they're going to pull out of their hats for that show. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys then.